What's up, Titan fans? How we doing? Welcome to the Week 8 ESPN Power Ranking Show, right, where we go over all 32 teams and we go through and see how they're ranked, maybe what has changed, and especially seeing where the Tennessee Titans are. But we know it's going to come to us quick, right, because we're starting from the bottom, and the Tennessee Titans aren't going to be too far from it because we are a bottom-tier team. We only won one game this year. But before we get started with the ESPN Power Rankings, let me go ahead and insert a plug. If you're not following me on YouTube, TikTok, and X, make sure you follow me on all three. I bring content all throughout the week. I'm talking post-game shows on Mondays, pre-game shows on Fridays, and content just like this throughout the week, along with many shorts, right? But look, the handle's the same no matter where you go, right? You found me on one, you can find me on all three. It's the What's Up Titan Fan Pod. I know it's been a rebranding. I was Glacius, but that's my gamer tag. If you want to follow me on Xbox, go ahead. We can play some games together. But on YouTube, TikTok, and X, it's the What's Up Titan Fan Pod. Go ahead and follow me. So let's go ahead and get started. Sitting at number 32 is the Carolina Panthers. They're one of the only teams in the NFL, and probably the Browns, that are worse than us, right? They don't know what they're doing. That organization is lost. And they're playing Andy Dalton instead of playing Bryce Young, instead of playing the young guy that they drafted. They already benched him after a year and a few weeks. They were like, we're done. We want to see Andy Dalton. He did show promise 1 week, right? His first week there. After that, they're still losing every single game. You might as well play Bryce Young. Don't bring him in just garbage time because you're trying not to hurt Andy Dalton. No. Let Bryce Young play. See what you got at him. You got no future with Andy Dalton. What are we doing, Panthers? Then, after that, we're talking about the New England Patriots. They're at 1-6. They finally started their younger QB last week, but they are still bad. I mean, they lost 32-16 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they did go up in the rankings, right? They went from very last week from all the way to 31. They went from 32 to 31. They did pass the Carolina Panthers, who was number 30 last week for some reason, but they ended up dropping to last place. But these bottom tier teams, they're going to shuffle around week to week, depending on how they do. And you never know. One might jump up even a little higher if they do get a dub. Like next week, not next week, but 2 weeks from now, we verse the New England Patriots. So one of us has to win the game, right? One of us is going to get 2 wins on the season. It's either going to be the Tennessee Titans or the New England Patriots. And that might be the only win we get the rest of the season is against the New England Patriots. Maybe the Jaguars, we might split with them. But other than that, every other Tennessee Titans game is going to be a loss. But one of us is going to boost up either us or the New England Patriots. We don't know. After that, we're talking about the Cleveland Browns. They are 1-6. Deshaun Watson, he ended up getting injured. He's going to be out the rest of the season. You saw his calf, right? All the muscles just went up. Everyone saw it. This man is done for the year. They got all this guaranteed money in Deshaun Watson, but yeah, we'll see. Now they ended up getting Jameis Winston. He's a backup. He'll come in. He'll play. I love Jameis Winston. He has one of the best attitudes of any player. I love his pre-game speeches or post-game speeches, eating W's. That is Jameis Winston. I love that, man. It would have been nice if we picked him up as a backup quarterback to have him instead of Mason Rudolph. But, we got Mason Rudolph. That's who we're stuck with. But that's number 30. They were 29. They went down in the rankings. And then we get to us, right? The Tennessee Titans. They're talking about a rising star, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. has done well. He's done it well last week and the week before. We're talking back-to-back weeks. This man was a steal in the draft. Even like I said in the post-game video, Baker did well for us, a guy we brought up from the practice squad. But we got stomped by the Buffalo Bills, 34-10. We could not stop them in the second half. They scored in every single drive. We were up 10-0 at one point and allowed them to score 34 unanswered points. We deserve to be at 29. I mean, we're mixed. I don't know who, these bottom teams are all interchangeable, right? You never know. The Bears, not the Bears, the Browns, the Patriots, all of them, they could be above us. We could be below them. We're all the same. We're all trash, right? We're all battling for a top 5 pick on where we're going to be. It's all the position battles for it. But right now, we are ranked at number 29 in the ESPN Power Rankings. Next, you got the Las Vegas Raiders, which they lost to the Rams. They were 27 last week. They dropped down to 28. They only got 2 wins on the season. They're having a tough go over there. They ended up getting rid of Adams, right? They traded him off to New York. So their season's only going to get worse. They are sellers right now on the market, just like us, right? There's rumors we're getting rid of D-Hop. They already got rid of Adams, so that's what it is. Their season's done. They know it's over. They're sellers. The Jacksonville Jaguars, while they are above us at 2-5, they ended up winning in England, right? They won 32-16 to the Patriots. And, they got to win. Congratulations, but guess what? It doesn't mean they're good. They just beat another bad team, just like we're probably going to beat the Patriots too. Maybe, I don't want to guarantee nothing, but we might have a chance of beating the Patriots. But they're 2-5. They're not going to be anything. Their season's over. They're 2-5. I mean, I've seen them come back before, a couple of years ago or a few years ago, whenever they were like last in the division. They got on this mad streak, ended up passing us, going to the playoffs. But then the next year, they started out really good, and then all of a sudden they just folded, and they haven't been good since then. But they are 2-5, second to last in the AFC South. The Giants, they're a disaster organization as well. 2-5, not making the playoffs. Got blown out by the Eagles, 28-3. They were ranked 25 last week. This week, 26. Daniel Jones is a terrible QB. There's not much to say about it, right? They're with us. All these teams so far, 26 down. We're all battling for a top round draft pick. The Miami Dolphins, they have a good roster. They just don't have a quarterback with Tua out. Tua's looking to come back. Maybe when he comes back, he can turn this organization around, because right now, between Boyle, Huntley, and whoever the other quarterback is, they all been trash, right? So, I mean, we saw it with Huntley, because the Miami Dolphins should have blew us out this year, and we should probably not even have a win on the year, but Tua went down, so it gave us a fighting chance, and we did well against them because Huntley was only on the roster for a couple weeks. But their young rising star Jalen Wright, hey, shout out to Tennessee, right? Old Rocky Top, they got Jalen Wright over there. He's doing well for him. But yeah, they end up losing to the Colts, which gave the Colts another win above us. The Colts, which, I mean, they're not going to do anything. We'll get to them. The Jets, 2-5. You saw the memes of Adams on the sideline, right? He just got there. They had their big hoorah. They were on the Pat McAfee show. He was like, yeah, I'm with Aaron Rodgers. They were together. He was with the boys. But then on the sideline, he looked just as sad as he did when he was a Raider. So they lost 37-15 to them Steel Boys, right? And they dropped from 22 to 24 at 2-5. Another bottom tier team, even with the future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers and Adams on their team. Then we got the LA Rams, right, who are 2-4. They ended up beating the Raiders 20-15. And it is a surprise, right? They were the Super Bowl champs just a couple years ago, and they're starting the season out bad. But they do have Stafford. They can always turn things around. But I know Puka's hurt and some other people, some key personnel. But they can always turn the season around. Even though they're down here with the bottom-tier teams, they have the potential to turn their season around and be better. It just depends on who they play in other circumstances. Next, they got the New Orleans Saints sitting at 2-5, right? They dropped from 18 down to 22. Something's going on in New Orleans. They were 2-0. They were blowing teams out of the water by like 40 points week 1, week 2. Then all of a sudden, they are now on a 5-game losing streak. We got fans in the stands with paper bags over their heads right now. People they're asking for their coach, Dennis Allen, to be out of there. So that's where the Browns are at. I mean, they got blown out by the Denver Broncos 33-10. I'm talking Bo Nix, brother. That's what I'm talking about. But look, they got their young rising star, Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. He's doing well. You see him shouting him out right there. But they are struggling right now. Rattler came in. He did not look good. Maybe Derek Carr will come back in soon. I'm not sure how long he's out for. But they need something to happen because this team is not looking motivated. Their offense isn't grooving right now, and the fans are completely out of it, just like the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, they're going to be a bad team just like us. Everyone got catfished in the first 2 weeks of the season. The Arizona Cardinals, 3-4. They did beat the Chargers 17-15. They went down in the rankings, though, from 20 to 21, even though they got a dub. But you know what's going on? Call of Duty comes out, next week, I think it is? So their season's over with. They only got 3 wins. Call of Duty's coming out. Kyler Murray doesn't play well once Call of Duty hits the market. So go ahead and call their season a wash. They're going to be a bottom tier team. They only got 3 wins. I do not believe in the Arizona Cardinals. I don't believe in Kyler Murray. Their season is done. Then we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts. They're 4-3, but it's a fluke. Look, they beat the Dolphins, right? Everyone's beating the Dolphins right now. They don't have Tua in. So yeah, they looking like 4-3. Like, yeah, okay. They might be close to the Texans, but they're nowhere near the Texans. And this happened under Joe Flacco. They are not getting 4 wins like this with Richardson unless they're playing the Miami Dolphins. Richardson is so bad. He's not going to lead these guys to the playoffs. They're not winning the division. It is all a fluke. Don't get it mistaken. I'm not just saying this because it's an AFC South rival. The Colts are bad, right? I mean, they may not be as bad as us, but they are bad. Don't let the record fool you. They are better when they have Flacco in, but they're going to play Richardson. They want to see what they got. They don't want to play Joe Flacco, but it is all a lie. Don't believe it. The Cincinnati Bengals, 3-4. They went up in the rankings. They were 23 last week. This time they're 19. They're 3-4. They beat the Browns 21-14. And that's what. So the Cincinnati Bengals, they've been struggling, right? Even though they have Joe Burrow, they're still 3-4. They had to beat the Browns, who had Watson go down with an injury, who's out now basically the rest of the season, and they're 3-4. I don't really believe in them. They are in a tough division. I'm talking about them Steel Boys over there. I'm talking about the Ravens, as you just saw them dominate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so their season, they don't believe in it. They're not making the playoffs. The Bengals, their division is too hard. There's too many powerhouse teams in that division. Then we're talking about that Los Angeles Chargers. They lost to the Cardinals 17-15. They only went down 1 spot in the rankings. But they do have they have Herbert, right? So they have Herbert. They can always turn around. I still believe a little bit in the Chargers at 3-3. They still have a possibility of making the playoffs and making an impact. They can always turn their season around. We're finally getting to where teams are getting better, right? We're not talking about these bottom tier teams, especially the top 5 bottom tier teams, right? Top 5 draft pick bottom tier teams. We're finally getting to these mid tier teams where you're looking like they have a chance to do something. After that, the Denver Broncos, what a blowout they did to the New Orleans Saints, 33-10. They jumped up from 21-17. Could Sean Payton actually be turning this team around? Could Bo Nix be the answer? These are all things we're going to find out throughout the season. They're talking about their young DB riser Riley Moss coming in. Shout out to the white DB, right? We don't see too many starters, but that's one right there. So we do have one, and we'll see how they play out. They are turning things around, and they're 3-4. And look, you gotta believe in them. I mean, Sean Payton is a good coach. You saw what he did down in New Orleans. I know he had Drew Brees, but if he can turn Bo Nix into that Drew Brees type QB, they do have a chance. And at 3-4, they're looking pretty good. Next is the Atlanta Falcons. I know they lost to the Seahawks 34-14. And they're 4-3, right? Their record's pretty good. But I absolutely love what Kirk is doing in Atlanta. He is reviving that city. The city believes in Kirk. You see all the swag stuff going on. You see them dancing and stuff. They love Kirk in Atlanta right now. And I live near Atlanta, right? I'm in Georgia, so I see it. They believe. I know they lost. It was a tough game, but they definitely have a chance to win the NFC South. Obviously the Saints are bad there. The Panthers are bad there. They just have to worry about the Bucks. And the Bucks just lost their 2 top receivers. And Baker ended up throwing multiple interceptions in that game. So Atlanta Falcons definitely have a top shot of winning that division and making the playoffs. After that, we talk about the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how they're so high, right? They stayed where they were. They were 15 before. They're still 15. They were on a bye. They're 3-3. But I feel like almost every time I talk about Dallas, they're getting blown out. Yeah, they beat some teams. They're 3-3. But I don't think they're that good. They're in a tough division. The Eagles are going to win that division. The Cowboys, I'm sorry to say it, Cowboy fans. They're not looking good. I mean, I like Dak Prescott. I like CeeDee Lamb, but they're not good this year. And even though they're up at 15, I think their ranking is higher than where their team actually should be, and what they show. Like the Falcons should be above the Dallas Cowboys. But hey, it is what it is. This is ESPN's rankings right here. I'm just analyzing it, right? After this, we're talking about the Chicago Bears sitting at 4-2. What a surprise. When we played them week 1, they did not look like they were going to be 4-2. Caleb Williams did not look like he was going to be the QB. I mean, neither it didn't look like that even the weeks after. But you know what? Their team held together. They played good defense. Their defense kept them in the game. And with the last couple of weeks, Caleb Williams actually started looking pretty good. So he's actually coming into the NFL. I hate to say it, but yeah, the Bears are 4-2. They're looking pretty good. But I still don't think they're going to win the division. The Vikings are clearly the best team in that division. But hey, they have a good chance of still making the playoffs. And they are 4-2 right now. San Francisco 49ers, 3-4. And that's kind of high, right, for being 3-4. I mean, they lost 28-18 to the Chiefs. But, everyone loses to the Chiefs. I mean, they got the refs helping them. They got the Swifties out there doing everything they can for them. But they're sitting at 4-3, but they can always turn things around. They got a good coach. They got Brock Purdy. McCaffrey will be back. Once all that happens, they can turn their season around. So I'm still not putting them out of it yet. That's probably why they're still ranked at 13. And it's, it's off of potential. So they're at 13. Seattle Seahawks 4-3. Yeah, they beat the Falcons. But look, I'm not a big believer in Geno Smith. And, yeah, they might be up there. And they might even make the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I mean, they are 4-3, though. They're doing way better than us, and they're going to be a contender. After we're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, 4-2. Oh, shout out to the young rising star right there. Guess what that is? That's another white DB, baby. We got another one, Cooper DeJean. That's 2 in 1 ESPN power ranking of young risers. But anyway, they are 4-2. They beat the Giants 28-3. The Giants are trash. The Eagles are obviously good. They are a playoff team. They're a Super Bowl contender. They got A.J. Brown, who we traded to him in a disaster. It's probably one of the worst trades in the history of trades, where we got Traylon Burks with the draft pick, and he's injured again, right? This man's always injured. But anyway, A.J. Brown, always doing good. You got to believe in that man. They got Jalen Hurts. They got Shaquan Barkley back there. They are looking good. They're going to be a team to beat this year. Then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were ranked number 7, went down to number 10. They're sitting at 4-3. They lost to the Ravens 41-31. Talk about a high-scoring game, but it was trouble in paradise. I mean, they had 2 of their top receivers go down. We're talking Evans and then Godwin. Both of them went down right now. Godwin's going to be out for the season. He broke his leg or something like that. Evans ended up pulling his hamstring. Baker threw a couple interceptions that game. It was a tough game for Baker. But, hey, we're sellers for wide receivers right now, and we do have D-Hop. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, guess what? They need receivers. So you never know right now. Maybe they end up getting hold on one second. Maybe they end up getting D-Hop from us because we're trying to get rid of players right now. We need picks for next year because we're trying to change the culture, change the team. After that, the Washington Commanders. No one thought the Commanders were going to be this good coming into the season. But the Commanders are good. They're legit. We have to accept it, right? We have to accept it. And Jaden Daniels, he's a good QB. So everyone just has to face it. They're 5-2. They blew the Panthers out of the water. I'm talking 40-7. They were ranked number 9 last week. They're still ranked number 9 this week. I mean, Zach Ertz, he looked good out there. Their team looked good, right? They're talking about their cornerback. They got another young rising cornerback. It seems like a lot of people have cornerbacks these days that's doing well. But yes, they are 5-2. They're a legit contender. And hey, they might be one of the teams to beat, even though they do have a young rookie QB. Next, we got them Steel Boys right there, right? Them Steel Boys sitting at 5-2, but they beat the Jets 37-15. They embarrassed Aaron Rodgers and Adams, right? So they out there looking good, and that's even with Russell Wilson finally coming in the game. At first, coming into the game, I was like, why are they playing Russell Wilson? Justin Fields looked good all season, right? I think he has like 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He doesn't have a lot of throwing touchdowns, but he hasn't made any interceptions, no bad decisions. Justin Fields has been fine. He looks like a good NFL quarterback. I know the Bears just made him a runner back, but he looks good. But yeah, they played Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson came in, did his thing. He got the win. 37-15. So congrats to them Steel Boys, Najee, Haji, all of them. They're doing good. They're a legit team. The Houston Texans, boy, the leaders of the AFC South. I hate to admit it. I really do. They are an AFC rival, but these boys are 5-2, and they're looking good. CJ Stroud is good. I know they lost, right? They ended up getting beat by the Packers 24-22, but they're a legit team. They're gonna win the AFC South. There's no way the Colts, the Jags, and especially those Tennessee Titans are catching up to the Houston Texans. They're too good. They're going to sweep us this year. It is what it is. We don't play them until later in the year, but we're going to get swept by the Texans. They are clearly the best team in the AFC South. But they did drop from number 4 last week to number 7 this week. The Minnesota Vikings, 5-1. They lost to the Lions 31-29. What a game. And look, this is a NFC North matchup right here. They're rivals, right? But they're 5-1 now. They get beat by the Lions, who we play next week, which we're going to get blown out by. I can't say it enough. We're going to get blown out by the Lions. But the Vikings are legit. They're still number 1 in their division, and they're going to be a playoff team. Unless something crazy happens, they're going to be a playoff team. They're going to make the playoffs, them and the Lions. That's just going to be how it is. They're going to have 2 teams from that division make the playoffs. Next, the Green Bay Packers at 5-2. Jordan Love, right? They ended up beating us earlier this year. They didn't even have Jordan Love. But they beat the Texans right now. They're just running through the AFC South. They beat the Texans 24-22. They went up from number 8 to number 5, and they are looking good. Their head coach is a mastermind. He games plans. You saw it with us, what they did with Malik Willis. He game plans for his QBs. He puts them in the perfect situations. And our coach, we don't know what we're doing. We don't make adjustments. We don't game plan. We just get out there and do what we do. That's all I can say. After that, we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens. And look, on this channel, I cannot stress enough, we hate the Baltimore Ravens down to the core. We absolutely hate them. We love Derrick Henry. We want him to do well, but we hate the Ravens. But they ended up winning. I'm not going to lie. Last night, I was rooting for the Bucs, right? I wanted the Bucs to win. But they ended up beating the Bucs 41-31. They're 5-2. They're clearly a legit team. They're a playoff contender, probably a Super Bowl contender. They went from 5-4 in the power rankings. I hate them, but they're doing well. I can't lie about it. I can't even be like, hey, the Ravens are trash. No, they're good. They're 5-2. Come on. Then the Bills, we just got blown out by them. As you see right here, blown out by them, 34-17. Was 6, went up to 3. We made them look amazing, especially in the second half. If you just take that one half of the game, the Bills were an all-star team. They ended up putting 34 points straight on us. We was up 10-0 at one point. Then we allowed them to score 34 points. In the second half, they scored either a field goal, a touchdown. They put up points every offensive drive of the second half. Our defense just gave up. We had 0 adjustments. They made adjustments at halftime, and then they just ran with it. Our offense couldn't do nothing, and our defense couldn't stop anything. After that, the Detroit Lions, who we play next week, they beat the Minnesota Vikings 31-29. They went from rank 3 to rank 2, and guess what? We verse them next week. We're going to get blown out. These boys are scary. Look, they're going to be there with the Vikings, right? Both of those teams are going to be battling out for that division, but the Detroit Lions, they are a scary team to verse. And just think, Dan Campbell only had 3 wins a couple years ago when he took over for that organization. That's why I'm saying we cannot give up on Brian Callahan. We got to let this man cook, give him time to make this team his, because right now he's playing with Vrabel's roster. We got to use Dan Campbell as the example. We're going to have a tough first year. This is Callahan's first year coaching, just like Dan Campbell's first year was tough, right? It's going to be tough. That's just the way it is till you build your team and build your culture. And right now, the Detroit Lions have their team put together. They have their culture. Dan Campbell made this team his. Then sitting at number one, which has been number one for the entire season, ESPN loves them. The Swifties love them. The refs love them. The entire NFL organization loves the Kansas City Chiefs. They are 6-0. They beat the Niners 28-18. We end up seeing Patrick Mahomes truck some dude with a six-pack talking about his dad bod absorbed the hit and he was able to take the guy out. The Kansas City Chiefs are good. Super Bowl contenders. Probably going to be the winners. I mean, they got the refs on their team or on their side every single game. And look, I know I sound like a hater, and I probably am, right? Because you have one team dominate for so long, you just want them to not do it, right? You start making all these different excuses. Kind of like in college football, everybody had all these things about Bama, right? They dominated for so long. Saban was there 17 years, and they just dominated college football. But luckily, it looks like it's finally over, right? They have 2 losses this season. They lost both Tennessee teams. Shout out to the Volunteers. Let's go Vols. But hey, anyway, this is the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. They are 6-0. They've been good since Patrick Mahomes been the QB, and even when it was Alex Smith for a little bit. But yes, the Kansas City Chiefs, Swifties everywhere, they love this team. They are 6-0. But that does it for today's episode of the ESPN Week 8 Power Rankings. But hey, let me know if you think they got the Tennessee Titans right, and along with the rest of the Power Rankings. Tell me what you agree with and what you don't agree with down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tighten up, baby.